So these past few patches have been nothing but complete heaven for TA spammers like myself. She's gotten buff after buff after buff, and now we're even seeing her being picked a lot more often in the big stage. So I thought this would be a good idea to go ahead and make this video since there's no better time than now. I have played so many fucking games with this hero that it's just honestly embarrassing to admit, so why not share my insight, letting you guys know about all the different things I've learned throughout my playtime with the best Dota 2 waifu in the entire game. So here are 40 tips and tricks you may not know about Lanaya, the Templar Assassin. The Melt Strike armor reduction stacks, so if you have a feeling that someone will walk into you, go for a double Melt Strike to ensure an easy kill. The starting build path is pretty simple and always stays the same for TA, but it's up to you what you want to get first. Get Blink Dagger first if you're more of a team-oriented player and want to help around sooner than later, or if you're like me and always hate your team, just go Deso and try to split towers and farm super fast. You can also skip Blink completely and go for the Dragonlance build, which is what I like to call the pussy build. Instead of blinking in and playing like a proper assassin, this build allows you to stay back with your extra range and deal damage to that enemy frontline instead. Pre-refracting. If you know a fight is about to start soon, the best thing you can do is something called pre-refracting, which basically means activating your refraction early and going in right when it's about to wear off, allowing you to activate it a second time during the same team fight, giving you a total of 12 refraction charges to use in a span of 20 or so seconds. You can tell when the trap will start to do damage by the glowing rings. Once they flare up like this, it's ready to go. TA's traps are actually considered units, so if you ever get annoyed by your teammates blaming you for not popping traps in time, you can just give your allies control over your unit so that they can pop the trap themselves. Traps override each other, which means if you pop a trap that has the damage buff, then pop another one right after, this will not stack the duration, but instead will override it, getting rid of the damage over time and applying a new debuff. Sometimes it is better to blink out than in. Remember that TA is an assassin and blinking into 5 enemy heroes isn't really ideal, so sometimes it's just best to run up, slow, kill the target, then blink out. Meld has dodge properties similar to Shadowblade. You can actually dodge abilities like certain stuns, auto attacks, and even tower bullets. The camera angle, along with the high ground in mid lane, makes sideblading super weird. But a really simple yet effective tip is to aim up on Radiant side and then aim down on Dire. This will take some time to understand and get used to, but once you get the hang of it, it'll make your laning phase with TA almost godlike. This is not much of a tip, but I just want to say Radiant side TA is 10 times better since the jungle camps are just so much closer and easier to access and stack. The most common mistake I see people do on TA is that they get overconfident. Just because she has an amazing laning phase doesn't mean she has high kill pressure. A lot of the times you'll get the enemy down to a sliver of health, but it is actually really difficult to kill people before 6 since TA doesn't really have any CC. So just calm down, chill out, try to get that level 6, and then you can start looking for kills. BKB, please, for the love of God, get this fucking item. There are so many games where I lose just because I'm so greedy to not get BKB. If this item wasn't in the game, this hero would be complete dog shit. Always pop traps by selecting them individually. Never use this ability. No. Take it off. It's trash. Learning to pop them individually is a really good habit to have to avoid accidental pops, and it also allows you to pop them while CC'd or silenced. Try to avoid doing anything before getting your 2 items. I don't care if your team is suffering from losing a hard lane, a 5-man dive, a fucking zombie apocalypse. Nothing else matters until you get these 2 things. Roshan is your bitch. You can solo it fairly easily. Every time you see an opportunity to grab it, like wiping the team or a DD rune, just get it. It'll be gone before the enemy can notice. Always try to have as many traps down as possible. The pressure you apply from the slow, damage, and especially the vision is so crucial. Plant some along the mid lane, on the top of the cliffs, and don't forget on Roche. TA's late game is not exactly the greatest, so try to get your team to follow your lead once you think you can carry the game. But if you do happen to be in a really tough spot where you're forced to take TA to late game, I recommend Bloodthorn Nullifier. This is her best late game build hands down. This is a pretty cool combo you can do with Hurricane Pike during the nighttime. If you have trouble meld striking people, try to do an auto attack into a meld strike. It's hard to explain, but just trust me, it's 10 times easier this way. Always remember that side blades actually do true damage, so it's your best tool against people like Terrorblade, Timbersaw, and other high armor heroes. I don't know if you guys actually knew this, but Lanaya actually does have 2 legs. Try not to get too greedy with your builds. TA does completely fine with damage since she has 2 abilities like Refraction and Meld, which helps her with damage already. But something she does struggle with is crowd control. So before you can get your hands on that Meld Strike Bash, a Hex or Orchid Nullifier are also great items to have. If you're about to blink Meld Strike a target you have no vision on, just Meld, then attack move on the ground, and it will Meld Strike the closest enemy unit around you. If you're really bad at side blading in lane, don't worry. There's a technique I like to call Deny Blading, blading, which basically just means pushing the lane as fast as you can, then side blading the enemy through your creeps instead of the enemies. It's a lot easier since your creeps will aggro and chase towards the enemy, allowing you to easily line up the side blades without having to aim it. Always remember that refraction charges do not proc on denies, so try to use this as much as you can, allowing you to save more of your charges. The Melt Strike bonus damage isn't just added damage, but is actually separate from your physical damage, which could be a huge advantage. Like for example against Razor, you'll still be able to do 200 flat damage with Melt Strike no matter what, even after he sucks up all your damage until you have literally zero. If you pick TA, you're going to get camped and ganked constantly, and there's no going around that. And it's only fair since you're basically the god of laning phase, so when this happens, don't tilt. Just remember that you're one of the fastest farmers in the game, so just relax, farm up, and get your fucking revenge. Remember to question mark that motherfucker. Don't forget to place some defensive traps under your tower to turn the tide of any incoming ganks. If you buy Bottle on TA, just play someone else, man. T is not for you. It is not 2008 anymore, so Bottle is a huge waste of money since you're all going to be needing mana most of the time and not so much health. Getting an early Blightstone is a lot better than you think. Almost all of TA's damage source is physical, so getting this early will allow you to take tower extremely fast since you have such high damage per hit. 9 times out of 10, get Melt Dispels. It's arguably her best talent. The amount of times this will help you is uncountable, especially against people like Venomancer, Viper, Huskar, Bounty, Slardar, and many more. Unless there's literally nothing on the enemy team you can dispel, I guess the other talent will do, but the extra -4 armor Melt Strike is pretty underwhelming and not that good. Always remember to keep the traps in the lane and to pop them against incoming creep waves to delay the enemy push. The side blade's direction is judged by where TA is standing in relation to the enemy hit, not to where she attacks from. So this basically means if you attack from one side then blink to another, it looks pretty trippy, making room for some pretty sick style points. You can stack camps with your traps, just make sure you pop them around 2 or 3 seconds earlier and that TA is standing at least a blink range away from the camp. Remember that meld allows you to stay invisible forever, so if you see a Huskar on the enemy team, just meld and stay there until the game is over. It's okay, you can't win them all. As strong as you may be, remember that your name is Templar Assassin. So sometimes it's best to just go for the backline and assassinate heroes that shut down your burst potential pretty hard. Heroes like Dazzle and Oracle need to go before anything else. Refraction has a minimum damage threshold of 5, meaning that damage less than 5 is fully ignored by refraction and is not absorbed. So certain abilities like level 1 Rot and level 1 Ember Shield do not proc refraction for the better or worse depending on which way you want to think about it. When playing against those annoying hit and run mid laners such as Quap, Sniper, Wind Ranger, a really good trap to set down is between the enemy tier 1 and tier 2 towers. Push out the lane, pressure them into going towards that direction, and then go for the kill. This is how you triple stack Radiant side with TA. This is how you triple stack Dire side with TA. TA has some pretty wacky yet interesting properties involving Blade Mail. If TA with Refraction attacks an enemy with Blade Mail on, she doesn't take any of the damage returned and procs a charge of Refraction instead. But if for some reason you have Blade Mail on TA, when an enemy attacks you even if you have Refraction on, you take 0 damage, but they still take the damage returned to them as if they actually hurt you. When jumping on a target, sometimes it's best not to Melt Strike right away. Against certain heroes who have targeted crowd control abilities such as Crystal Maiden, Disruptor, Shadow Shaman, and a lot of others, the Melt Strike can actually be used as a dodge mechanic in order to get that one extra auto in there. So instead of doing Blink Melt Strike Auto, you should do Blink Auto Melt Strike Auto. The Melt Strike will disjoint their ability as long as there's no true sight and can be the difference between a kill or them getting away. And the most important rule of TA is to accept her as your waifu and to never play any other hero ever again. So you can be a hard-stuck Ancient 6 player just like me, picking TA jungle because I didn't get mid again. I fucking hate this game.